Mobile Task Force Unit Epsilon 11, designated Nine-Tailed Fox, has entered the facility. All remaining survivors are advised to stay in the evacuation shelter or any other safe area until the unit has secured the facility.
The Chaos Insurgency, or CI, is a major rival organization in the SCP Foundation series, and was implied to be the main catalyst and overarching antagonists of SCP, Containment Breach. The Chaos Insurgency was formed by former agents from the SCP Foundation who defected from the organization and attempt to destroy it. The Chaos Insurgency has access to a more limited amount of SCPs than the Foundation, but is more willing to use them without restriction. The Insurgency plays a central role in the New Age, A Tale, Conspiracy, Subversion, Ouroboros Cycle, Heart of Darkness, and Revolution Earth series. In SCP, Containment Breach, it was implied that Dr. Maynard, one SCP Foundation doctor, was actually a mole for the Insurgency. Possible origins common. Origin. The Chaos. Insurgency first started out in 1924 as a special task force formed by the O5 Council named the Insurgency. This new task force was comprised of members of the Mobile Task Force Alpha-1, also known as the Red Right Hand, a special MTF closely associated with the Council, and their leadership was supported by research, security, and retrieval personnel, all taken from Foundation ranks. This task force was secretly created to complete missions with ethically questionable methods and politically unsavory results, while making themselves appear as they were a defecting splinter group from the Foundation, in order to keep the nature and reputation of the SCP Foundation clean. However, in 1948, after the Insurgency had done another staged raid on one of the Foundation's site, seizing several SCP objects and convincing personnel to join them, the task force went on to do unplanned raids and this time delivering more serious damage to sites and personnel. The Insurgency had decided to betray the Foundation for real, due to reasons unknown, and rename themselves the Chaos Insurgency, much to the shock of the O5 Council. It is later suggested that at some point, the Insurgency came across a powerful anomaly only known as the Engine, which could predict Futenma and give them steps to follow as part of a bigger plan. The Insurgency's leader, who could directly communicate with the Engine, became known as the Engineer, and went on to attack the Foundation in order to appease the Engine. Insurrection. Around 1914, as O511, Elizabeth Tate became convinced that the Foundation was mistreating the humanoid anomalies under their containment and decided to take matters into her hands after being continually rebuked for her opinions. She and her husband, O512, the trainman, the conductor, were able to convince O57, the professor, the heretic, and O54, the gangster, into joining them, and soon after hiding themselves began to strike various Foundation transports, stealing various artifacts and rescuing some humanoids. Eventually, they formed the Chaos Insurgency and planned even more attacks in order for the Council to understand their mistakes. Slate Thunder. Following the end of World War I, a great number of SCP Foundation personnel who were affected by the war began arguing that they should use some of the anomalies to benefit humanity. Since this argument had been active since the creation of the Foundation, it was largely ignored by the O5 Council. However, these personnel were determined in their idea, and after becoming disillusioned with the Foundation, decided to publish a manifesto. This manifesto, which was created by anonymous high-level personnel, accused the Foundation of allowing horrible things to happen and not using beneficial anomalies. And when O57 banned the manifesto, more personnel became angry at this, and riots began forming around large facilities. This led to the majority of the O5 Council to try and resolve this situation and punish the personnel, while O59 and O511 highly approved of the personnel's ideas. This led to vote of no confidence in the O5 Council, which would have dissolved and replaced the entire Council. While that was going on, O59 and O511 ordered a MTF to capture the other members of the Council, but only found O53 and O512, with the others already fleeing and seeking refuge. The MTF and both O5 were killed when the Council's guard tried to defend them, and following that, the surviving second-in-command of the MTF, who opposed all of this, tried to arrest O5-9 and O5-11, but no success as they had also fled to Site-37. The two former members of the Council formed a triad with the site's director and sought to take over the Foundation by promising its personnel more freedom. Following the fall of the Foundation Command Headquarters, the triad and its forces resisted the MTF that was sent to attack them, forcing them to retreat. The triad then revealed to all personnel the hidden acts done by the Council, which sparked further outrage and support for the triad, and soon the Foundation's civil war started, which lasted from June 12, 1924 to October 10, 1926, was completely covered up by the Council. During the war, the triad properly organized themselves and attacked several Foundation facilities all over the world, while the Loyalist Foundation was struggling to win. Eventually, the triad was able to outnumber the desperate Loyalists who formed one last strategy. This new strategy involved most Loyalist forces preparing to attack the triad's headquarters in Africa, while they sent a plane which contained false Level 5 documents which, as expected, was shot down, and its content claimed by the triad. The content alluded to a Keter-class SCP being developed in Site-99 in the Arctic, and the triad, believing it to be true, went there to prevent the Loyalist from using it against them. However, upon arriving at the supposed location of Site-99, the triad forces were ambushed by the Loyalists' MTF Chi-13, dealing a massive blow to the triad, and became known as the Far North Massacre. As a result of this, the Loyalists were able to capture the former O5-11 and had him tell core information about the triad. As the triad began suffering from numerous defeats, they transferred their reserves to their headquarters in Africa, which was also attacked by the Loyalist. Following this, the Loyalist Foundation demanded that the war to cease and establish peace and have the triad admit that they were wrong, but the triad refused, calling the proclamation as just other lies, and kept fighting in vain. As the war went on, former O5-9 was secretly assassinated by the Loyalist, leaving the director of Site-37 on his own. The triad then attempted to use the SCPs under their possession to fight against the Loyalist, but to no avail, and eventually all the forces of the triad withdrew to Sector 12 in Scotland, which was then attacked and destroyed by the Loyalist. Despite thinking that it was the end of the triad, the survivors who managed to escape regrouped and formed the then small Chaos Insurgency, and remained in hiding until 1933. During World War I, the insurgency tried to seize Site-41, but were unsuccessful. In the Sino-Indian War, the personnel stationed at Armed Site-59 tried to defect to the Chaos Insurgency, but thankfully it was stopped by the intervention of Foundation Armed Rapid Response Task Force She-13. The Chaos Insurgency is opposite to the Foundation, who contained their SCPs and put most of them under strict surveillance. The Insurgency is quite the polar opposite, as they would like to utilize the SCP artifacts as their tools. The Insurgency also wants to take down the SCP Foundation for its lies by possibly unleashing several harmful and even hostile SCPs. They have provoked multiple riots against the Foundation. The Insurgency's treachery caused panic from the O5 Council, who had been responsible for the Insurgency's creation. Soon, the Insurgency became one of the most fearsome human enemy faction to the SCP Foundation, which would utilize all kinds of ways in order to neutralize the Foundation itself, including sending spies into it. The Insurgency usually operates in developing countries, often having a relationship with the corrupt regimes that control these nations. The Insurgency often helps keep these governments in power in exchange for facilities and resources. The Insurgency is also known to have citizens from these countries as test subjects in their experiments. In a similar manner, the Foundation uses D-class personnel. Besides anomalies, the Chaos Insurgency also trade in weapons and intelligence. They are led by both the Delta Command, which seems to parallel the O5 Council, and the Engineer, who seems to fill the role of the Administrator. Ranks and structure. All Insurgency personnel are expected to be loyal and professional in their duties, and should carry out orders without any objection, as everything is part of their bigger plan. Delta Command, a group which orders and oversees the activities of the lower ranks. The engineer is an important member of the command as they are in constant telepathic communication with the engine, a paranormal object that controls almost the entire of the insurgency, although this is up to headcanon. The engineer constantly transcribes a massive list of instructions comprised of plan and steps, which are delivered to the insurgents by Delta Command. The engineer and Delta Command appear to be the counterparts of the Foundation's O5 Council and Administrator, Gamma-class Chaos. Insurgency researchers and military commanders who oversee the execution of orders given by the command. Beta-class personnel who are under the Gamma-class and carry out orders in the field.
Alpha-class are personnel who are often recruited from people who nearly possess no knowledge of the anomalous world. Most of these personnel join the insurgency in order to escape from their miserable lives and are considered by the higher ranks as expendable, similar to the Foundation's Class D personnel. Military and R&D divisions. 2 divisions that comprise the insurgency. These 2 divisions mostly work independently and are unaware of the work of the other cells. Some of these cells include Consortium Independent, Foundation Feast, Gun Club, Headhunters, Isfet, Niggurath, and Sototh. Relationship with other anomalous factions. As expected, the Chaos Insurgency is extremely hostile towards the SCP Foundation. The insurgency is also enemies with the Global Occult Coalition and the Unusual Incidents Unit. The Chaos Insurgency at first had a friendly relationship with the Serpent's Hand and the Wanderer's Library, who at first saw them as fellow wanderers who also sought knowledge and help humanity. However, the insurgency soon began taking advantage of the library and even threatened some members of the groups, which led them to their expulsion from the library and being deemed as another enemy to the Hand. Several Chaos insurgents had made a temporary alliance with several versions of the Black Queen and other anti-Foundation operatives, so together could attack various Foundation sites. Thankfully, they were all repelled by the Foundation personnel, who were able to work together thanks to the efforts of SCP-4482, a Foundation employee whose essence was transported into the communication networks, allowing him to contact and unite the employees. In SCP-5001, it was mentioned that following the dissolution of GRU Division P, a great number of members decided to join the insurgency, which allowed the latter access to some of the division's classified information. Famed artist Olivia Torres, also known as Ivory, was a member of Are We Cool Yet? But as the Foundation kept relentlessly pursuing her, she eventually joined the Chaos Insurgency. In internal investigation, I-49274, after one of the factory's workers successfully committed suicide, the factory decided to cover it up as a murder in order to not ruin their image, and had an innocent man to confess of being a Chaos insurgent, who was responsible for the murder. The insurgency has relations with various groups of interests such as Marshall, Carter, and Darklantid, and the Church of the Broken God. The Three Moons Initiative had used several instances of SCP-4922 to violently kill several operatives of the Chaos Insurgency as part of their mission to protect humanity. In SC-95-347-00723, the Chaos Insurgency stole SCP-042, a Pegasus whose wings had been torn off, and by blackmailing a scientist of Prometheus Labs cloned it in order to sell the intact Pegasi to the Golden Horde. For unknown reasons, the insurgency has become one of the many enemies of Herman Fuller's Circus of the Disquieting. When General Bo decided to form a group to destroy the SCP Foundation for good, the Chaos Insurgency pledged its alliance to him and alongside the other members from other GOEs formed the Foundation Elimination Coalition. However, this group was short-lived due to its defeat by the Foundation. The Chaos Insurgency once attempted to take over the company of Dr. Wondertainment by having their double agent Jubal Golanks to become their puppet leader. However, Golanks became overwhelmed by the spirit of the company and abandoned the insurgency, becoming a full member of Dr. Wondertainment. Although there doesn't appear to be any real animosity between the insurgency and the Valravan Corporation, the corporation had been paid by several enemies of the insurgency to assist them during confrontations. In SC-05-321-05335, SCP-1000 took over the Chaos Insurgency in order to get their hands on their engine, which in this case was a Gestalt Overmind, composed of pheromones, mushroom networks, and other biological devices that connected to everyone who were part of group. SCP-1000 would connect the engine to the fairies' trees, which allowed them to surveil their enemies, and after that was over a SCP-1000 instance, overthrew the then-current engineer to take his place. Surprisingly, the insurgency had donated to the Charitable Foundation, which the latter wholeheartedly accepted without prejudice. Due to its close relationship with the Goki, Goldbaker-Ryan's insurance group LID worked tirelessly in suppressing financing to terroristic organizations like the insurgency,